Hey guys, I'm learning TFT and I'm sharing my learnings with you so that you can learn and I can learn better as well. I'm excited to bring a new episode of a top challenger interview series with Junglebook, I'm really glad to be joining with me for this episode to just chat and talk about some of the stuff that's been happening that's super exciting. He just qualified for Set 16 Tier 1, finished 10th at regionals, almost made Worlds, just fell out 2 spots right behind Dish Soap, and was also a former Rank 1 player in Set 13. Junglebook, thanks for joining me.
Hey Eric, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to y'all.
Yeah. So first off, I wanted to ask you just about Set 15, since that's where we wrapped up. You mentioned I watched your recent YouTube video. For all of you viewers out there, I'd highly recommend Junglebook just released a video talking about his Set 15 experience, also his plans for Set 16. But in the video, you talked about how Set 15 was your best set ever, and yet you started off that set in Tacticians Cup 1, getting knocked out day 1. So I'm curious how you approached your kind of mental thought process and mental state after that experience going into Tacticians Cup 2, where you kind of said, like, I have to top 8 or this set's a failure. Like, how did you manage that, mentality going from the first cup to—
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I would say, yeah, definitely the first Tacticians Cup. I mean, obviously, as a tier 2 player, the goal is always to try to make top 8 and qualify for regionals because that's the best path outside of the ladder snapshots. But unfortunately, I wasn't doing like quite well enough on ladder this set, like consistently across the whole set to qualify to regionals. So I kind of came down to doing really well in the second Tacticians Cup. And yeah, so I just really put in pretty much the maximum preparation that I could, and I just put out all the stops. I was just putting in more time to really make sure that I had like a really confident read in the second Tacticians Cup, and just making sure that I had a very good game plan for that, and that I felt super comfortable with every comp. Like sometimes in each tournament, there might be like one or two comps that you're like slightly underplayed on and you might like choose to avoid them. But I wanted to make sure for the second cup that I was comfortable with everything and I just knew the ins and out of everything. And luckily it did pay off and I was able to qualify for regionals after going, I believe it was like 6th or 7th place in the second Tacticians Cup. So it was just enough for me to make it into regionals and give myself a shot at making the set 16 TPC.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of that switch that you made with going all in? Like, what specifically changed between your prep for Cup 1 versus Cup 2? Like, did you have to carve out a lot more time from, non-TFT life? Like, how did you mentioned you have a girlfriend as well. Like, do you have to have conversations with your girlfriend about, like, hey, I need to lock in? Like, because I think a lot of TFT players have this challenge where not everyone can be pro, not everyone can be spending all their time, but like, how do you balance, real life stuff and, really locking in competitively?
Yeah. I'd say fortunately, right now I'm actually like full time in TFT. I have the privilege to do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just like a background about me, I was a competitive player in another game called Pokemon Unite. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually was a world champion in that game. So kind of just my success from that game. And I also worked in college a bit, gave me a bit of a buffer. And I just have the luxury to be full time right now. So I think that's definitely like a privilege. And there's a lot of great players that work side jobs. Like for example, my friend JD Zielinski, he's like a full-time teacher, but he was still able to make worlds, which is super impressive. So luckily, all of that is to say, like I just realized that even though I'm putting in a lot of time, I still think that I could be giving more. So I think I would say it was just a little bit of everything. Like I said earlier, I definitely just made sure like I was really sharp on every comp, and that came down to repetitions, both myself playing and also watching other like high level players play the comps. I remember a comp I was kind of weak on was like Prodigy Yumi. I didn't like fully I didn't understand how people were like doing so well with it. And just for that example, it was like I think there were like key itemizations. itemization errors that I was making, and like I wasn't prioritizing the right items.
Mhm.
Which, and once I made that adjustment, I noticed such a big shift in kind of in my performance on that comp. So I think that's just like one, like, I guess, like small example of an adjustment that I made for the second cup, is making sure that I am strong on every single comp and I feel confident, because I didn't want to like have a good prodigy spot but then say like, oh, maybe I'll pivot it to Star Guardians or something, or something else like Malzahar reroll, because I don't feel comfortable on it. So I'd say that was definitely a big thing. Another big thing, just this set in general, is I definitely studied with more people. Not more people, but I just studied with people more, I should say. In the past, I certainly like reviewed and I scrimmed with my friends and whatnot, other high elo players and high level players. But I think this set we were VOD reviewing a lot. Like we would VOD review just like, top players from NA, from APAC, from EU as well. So and we would try to just get a wide breadth and a lot of experience from a lot of different players. And I think that just spending more time with them leading up to the second cup, and more time with my peers really contributed to my success as well. So.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about the study group investment? Like, what made you invest? Because you mentioned you had done study groups in the past. Like,
Right.
how did you approach the study groups differently? When you say like you started spending more time studying with them, like what kind of stuff would you be doing? What specifically, maybe in how you spent time with the study group, did you find most effective for people out there who maybe are looking to either create study groups or join study groups? Like, what do you think people should be thinking about when approaching study groups?
That's such a great question. Honestly, yeah, these are things I would have loved to know when I was like kind of on the come up. So this is really good, like really good stuff. But I would say this set, kind of what changed is after my set 12, like in set 12, when that was the first time I made regionals, and I'd say that was kind of my like breakout set as a player, you could say. Um, I did most of the things on my own because I didn't really know other people that well, and I kind of just thought for set 13 and 14 that I'd be able to just do it again for like by myself. It's not even like or at least I like to think it's not even like a pride thing or like a ego thing, like just that I'm the best or whatever, but just more so that I just thought that I had I had done a good thing in set 12 by myself, and I'd be able to do it again in 13 and 14. Um, but set 13 and 14 unfortunately did not go the best for me. I mean, I was making the Tacticians Cups, but I didn't do quite well enough across the set to make regionals, which was really what I was going for, right? Regionals into worlds is like kind of the next step for me.
Yeah.
And then so in set 14, I took a step back and I kind of thought about what am I missing and what is something that like a lot of the other high elo players are doing that I'm not. And that is like certainly a common thing amongst a large percentage of a lot of the top players, especially in like TPC and even the best players in the tier 2 circuit as well. They're all reviewing and studying and gaining insights from other players around their level. Um, so I certainly think that that's something I kind of realized, and I was like, I think I will give that a shot more in set 14, and just be willing to spend more time doing that rather than maybe just playing or reviewing myself or looking at stats myself. And it really did do wonders for me. And I wouldn't say like in terms of like who my study groups are, it's not like a dedicated study group. It's more like friend groups, I would say. Just like friends who have similar skill levels, similar goals, and I think that's really the best way to go about it. Because it just makes reviewing the game and just reviewing things fun, and looking at stats fun. And it really brings a nice flavor just to competitive TFT in general, because sometimes it can get dull as like a grind, just doing it alone. So the two like kind of groups, I guess you could say, that I'm studying with, one is PMD. I don't know if you've heard that before,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of the top players in NA actually, like Bobster, Cambuli, JD Zielinski. Lil Top is like a teammate I played with in the EWC 4v4. And there's like a handful of other like top high elo players that you will recognize on the ladder. And yeah, I would say for regionals especially, I was prepping with them quite a bit. And the other group I kind of have is a group where it's Protect Scroll, who is a Citadel Gaming sponsored player. Ladder Slayer, who also made the tier 1, so that was pretty cool that we were able to do it together. And then also Kibi, who is like also a high elo like NA player. And we all reviewed together. I would say honestly, I probably spent like a little bit more time with that group this set. And a lot of it was like watching higher level player, or not higher level, but just like other really good players. And also just sharing our thoughts, because that's the other thing about study groups that I think just kind of an underrated or maybe stated aspect of study groups is you just get a wider breadth of experience, because the amount of material and just like the amount of material and knowledge that one person can cover and being able to share that with 3 or 4 other people, it's just you can just cover way more than one person can on their own. So I would highly recommend, especially if you are in like the master GM or even low challenger, high challenger range where you're trying to push to the next level competitively or just on the ladder. I would highly recommend trying to find other similar like-minded players who are motivated and they have similar goals to you. And yeah, just try your best to make it something fun and just something that you look forward to. It shouldn't feel like a class session or like a job or anything, but I just think it should just be something that you look forward to. You just look forward to sharing and look forward to hearing from other people's experiences. I think that really is the best way to go about it.
Yeah. And when you think about studying, whether that's in the study group versus you studying on your own, how do you balance the amount of time you spend studying solo versus study group versus playing the game versus like any other stuff that you do within TFT? Like, how would you suggest players that want to get better competitively to allocate their time?
Sure. That's a great question. And honestly, this is a question that I feel like if you ask a lot of if you ask like 10 high elo players what their process is, I feel like you'll get a lot of different answers, because honestly, I just think it's one of those things where people have different preferences. They have different like styles of learning. They have different like motors for being able to just like play games versus sitting back and kind of watching more, which is still very valuable. I would definitely say, like, me just knowing myself, I think I'm a little more on the like playing more side. I think that as a high level player, I can draw a lot of conclusions just from playing a lot, and I think like getting the repetitions is very important for me. And in terms of like, maybe if I could give like a percentage, I would estimate I'm maybe spending 60 to 70% of my time playing, and then maybe the other 40 to 30, whatever in that range, studying or reviewing or talking to other people, or studying on my own as well. A lot of times, sorry?
How would you split that between your study time? How would you split that between solo versus like study group?
That's also a great question. If I had to estimate, I'd probably say like, I would probably honestly say that maybe 30% of that study time is myself, and then 70% is with other people. I think part of it is like keeping the game and just the whole process fun for myself as well. And studying on my own is not always the most fun thing. Although again, sometimes, especially when a big tournament's coming up, I will do it. I don't mind doing it, because I am very passionate about the game, and I don't mind. It doesn't truly feel like work to me. But that being said, I still do prefer just having conversations and talking with other people. Not only because it's more fun, I guess you could say, and more engaging, but also just because I think it's just better. Assuming the players that you are conversing with are, again, of a similar caliber and on the same level as you, or better, or I think that I think that it just makes it more fun, and it just makes it a better experience, and that way I'm able to do it more in the long run because um I don't want to burn myself out just
Mhm.
doing something that I don't find super engaging or fun just by myself, you know. Um, so yeah, that's probably how I would describe like the percentage breakdown. But as I preface, I really think that it works differently for a lot of people. I have heard other very high level players, like some better than even myself, that um, like they study and watch more than they play, you know. And I think that is definitely an approach that can work for a lot of people, kind of going for like an efficiency route, right? On if you're thinking about it in terms of like ladder, like an efficiency route rather than um trying to learn by playing. They learn by watching first, and then they will play their like couple games per day. And I know that works very well for some people. So I think that it's kind of just all about knowing yourself and just kind of figuring out what works best for you. But those are usually like the two types of like paths, right? I mean, slightly leaning more towards studying or slightly leaning more towards playing, I'd say.
Right. I want to double click on what you were talking about with making sure things stay light and fun
Hmm.
and like trying to manage burnout. Because in your video, you had mentioned that there were points in maybe set 14 where you were like kind of wondering, is this worth it?
Hmm.
Um, can I actually compete at that level?
Right.
How did you navigate that level of doubt and kind of the self questioning, which I think a lot of people face all the time, whether or not someone's in low challenger, whether someone's, hard stuck at diamond and trying to get to master, wherever, someone is on their journey. How did you navigate that period of doubt? And also the pressure that you put on yourself um, while so simultaneously trying to get self-confidence, to have faith, and then also putting in the effort required to help you hit that next hurdle, and yet keeping things kind of light and fun. Like how do
Mhm.
you balance all of those conflicting, seemingly paradoxical, needs?
Yeah, yeah, no, it certainly is like quite a strong juxtaposition. I guess you could say like just like that. Those two like uh those two counteracting kind of emotions or just like thoughts in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So that yeah, honestly, that's not something I put like into super deep thought, but um, just in terms of like, I guess first I can talk about just like the emotion of doubt or just the feeling of doubt. Um, and yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially after having kind of a tougher set 13 and 14. Um, you know, I would say for maybe for a handful of players, like they would be okay with my if they had my accomplishments, I guess you'd say in set 13, 14. But just on my standard, after making regionals in set 12, I wasn't super happy, and I was
Yeah.
definitely I was definitely a bit yeah, I was a bit doubtful for sure, and I was really considering like there were moments where I was considering, yeah, for sure, like is this really worth it? Like you said, do I actually have what it takes and the skill that it takes to be um high enough level, like a high level in this game? Um and I would say to manage that, like I definitely got a lot of confidence actually in set 14 when I was playing on the EWC 4v4.
Oh.
Me and my team, we actually that was probably like my best accomplishment in set 14, but
Uh-huh.
we were doing really well in the we did really well in the open qualifiers, and we qualified for the closed qualifiers, which was like a top 8 team in North America slash uh just the Americas in general, because there were definitely some Brazil and Latin American teams as well. Um, and I think just knowing that, you know, obviously it's a team game, like a 4v4 especially. So my teammates did such a great job as well. But just hearing that like they had faith in me to like execute certain comps, like win out comps and things like that, or they had faith in me to make certain key decisions in the game, and they just had that confidence in me. And these are other high level players like I was playing with, like I said, Bobster, JD Zielinski, and Lil Top, who have been, you know, top players for a very long time. Um,
Mm.
and I think just their faith in me and just them seeing potential in me, I guess you could say, and just having confidence in me to do these things really helped me a lot. And so after set 14, I just kind of I think that helped me. That really helped me in my confidence and just my belief in my ability to do things. So that's why I decided to give it like another try in set 15. Had it not gone my way in set 15, I'm not sure if I would be playing set 16 or not. I think I was like getting close to that point where it's just like just trying to be realistic. Um, if it's really worth this like full time investment for me, or if maybe I should like start working a job and playing on the side. But luckily, it really did pay off in set 15, and I do attribute a lot of my confidence and my success to my 4v4 teammates, seriously, and like that group in general, because that's kind of how I found them. Like they were already an established kind of friend group for a while, but they found me on my live stream. I used to stream on Twitch to like just like maybe like one or two or three viewers, and it's been slowly like growing for over the past few years. But they found my stream, and then slowly they like invited me to their group, and again, just the idea of them seeing something in me, and just other people seeing something in me really helped my confidence a lot. um,
Yeah.
so I'd say that was a very big part for sure. And then also I do think it's fair to like credit myself. Like I also just reminded myself that um I made regionals in set 12, and like I had what it took at least in the past to make it to that level. So I just had to kind of reassure myself that idea that I was able to make it in the past, and also I felt like I had improved as a player. So I just thought that I just have to make some minor adjustments here and there, but if I stick to my game plan and just my roots and whatnot, I thought that it was a long time coming, and I thought that I should just give it another shot, because
Yeah.
I just had that feeling that after set 12 I had what it took. I just need to kind of tweak a few things, especially after having a kind of rough set 13 and 14.
And now, as you have qualified for set 16 tier one, and
Mhm.
also you've fell just shy of making worlds in set 15, how do you kind of translate and ride that momentum to kind of the next goal level that you have? And you also mentioned in your video that you kind of want to become a consistent, from a community standpoint, viewed as a consistent tier one player. That's the caliber of player that you're at, and
Mhm.
being in regular contention to be able to go to worlds, win worlds. And I'm also curious how. So not only part of the question I have is like, how do you keep that confidence going? Because it's not just doubt to be able to make tier one, but I'm sure there's doubt that's like, okay, can I get to worlds? Can I be a worlds winner? And I'm also curious how your experience from Pokemon Unite, like what you might have learned from that experience becoming a world champion,
Mhm.
to how you apply that to TFT, and maybe how that could be extendable for other players who have similar aspirations to you.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's an awesome question. Yeah, to be honest, for set 16, I think, yeah, for those of you who don't know, like it's certainly my goal to at the bare minimum make the tier 1 every single set from now, as long as I'm playing. Um and my ultimate goal is to make worlds and to win worlds, of course. As I think pretty much any tier 1 player across the world would probably say the same. Um but I do think that it's just very important for me I keep reminding myself and telling myself that and other I'm telling other people this too, just to make sure they hold me accountable, like those close to me. But um I don't want to have any I don't want them to get any sense that I'm complacent, or I am like taking a uh a step back, like just because I reached tier 1, and I still want to put in even more, and just because at the end of the day I did fall a bit short of making the final lobby in regionals, and that cost me making worlds, so I I don't want to let up at all, and I just want to kind of, like you said, ride the momentum and just kind of acknowledge, okay, what I did last set, it was pretty good, and I just need to kind of keep up the processes of improving, and um, in order to reach the next level. And I definitely think that having ended set 15 on like such a high, being so close to making the worlds, like the final lobby and regionals and making worlds, it really gives me hope and just like so much just burning motivation, honestly, that I can actually do it. I'm right there, and um I just really need to stay diligent throughout the whole set, because um that really is the reality, is everybody else is just as hungry, and they're going to be doing the same things as me, and putting in just as much time as me, probably. At least a lot of the players will. So I can't afford to let up at all, and I just can't have that mentality of complacency whatsoever. So just kind of having that, that's what I keep reminding myself, is just to stay humble and keep my humility, and just stay open to knowing that I still have many things I need to work on and improve. Um, Reminding myself that is going to be my, like, definitely my mentality this set, and I hope that that does pay off. I mean, definitely, like, having watched, like, in League of Legends, like having watched Faker win worlds, like, however many times now, it's just it. I think he is such a good example um of just a humble player, and it's just somebody that we can learn from, because out of anyone in the world, he has the most rights to just, like, to just say everyone else is trash and I'm the best, and there are other league players that do that, right?
Yeah.
But they don't have nearly as many. They don't have close to the accolades that Faker does, and I just think that's such a powerful example, because even he doesn't do that. Or at least it appears he doesn't do that. And he just stays very down to earth, head down, and he's always trying to bring up those around him, and improve himself as well. So I just think that is like that's like kind of a recent, like, relevant kind of example. But I think that's just a really, like, powerful example that we can all really afford to learn from. Is Just always having that mindset that, especially in TFT, when it's really easy to blame, like, other players, or it's really easy to blame like variance or luck, which sometimes it is justified. But at the end of the day, no one is ever going to play like a perfect game of TFT, and it's all about just finding those, like, key moments in your game where you made the error, and figuring out, not only identifying that, but also figuring out how you can prevent that from happening the next time. And that really is the process on how to get better. And honestly, like, that is probably something that a lot of the high level players, like competitive players, share, is they're good at like pinpointing the mistakes they made in the game, and then taking it to the next step and figuring out what exactly it is they need to do, what practices can they uh, employ into their routine to narrow down these mistakes, and make sure that they don't make the same mistake again. um, that is truly the difference between, like, master to GM to challenger, challenger to high challenger to like the best competitive players. Just each threshold, it really comes down to that skill. I really believe that. It really comes down to that skill of identifying your mistakes and acting on them. Um, so yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of talked for a while, and I'm not sure if I exactly answered
Oh
the
yeah,
base question, but hopefully that was, like, insightful in some way.
for sure. That was super insightful. It actually reminds me of Marcel P, who.
Oh, okay.
So you're actually my second interview for this series, as I'm
Mhm.
like trying to build it up. But and Marcel, I interviewed Marcel a year ago, and he went to Worlds this set. He didn't do as well as he would have liked to. So hopefully you're next in line to go to Worlds.
That'd be
Um,
awesome.
but it reminds me of Marcel after, I think it was Cup 1 that he won from this set, or Cup 2, I forget.
Mhm.
But right after he won the cup, he went on stream and did like a 5-hour stream analyzing and reviewing his games to see what
Right.
he could have done better, right?
Mhm.
And when you mentioned, like, there are some league players who, when they lose, or win, they're not necessarily like Faker and being humble, like, or like Marcel in this case, being humble and being like, okay, what can I learn? We know TFT players that will lose in a tournament, high profile TFT players lose in a tournament and then just go on a rant, right? Like, and I think
Right.
there's a very big distinction in my mind as to like who I pay attention to as far as like, oh, when someone like Marcel wins a tournament and still does that, I'm like, okay, I got to pay attention to that guy.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah. That's
so I'm
incredible.
curious for you, because you mentioned in your video you're obviously missing worlds by just barely missing worlds is incredibly disappointing. But at the same time, also I think hopefully there's some optimism there because you were so close.
Hmm.
Um, and you mentioned that there were some mistakes that you made that maybe whether it's under pressure or some patterns that you may have noticed. I'm curious what you took away from that regionals experience, and then also more broadly. So I guess from that regionals experience, what you learned
Hmm.
as far as how you can increase your odds in set 16 to make worlds, but also more generally, you mentioned that going from set 14 to set 15, the biggest thing you wanted to focus on was study groups and investing way more in that. I'm curious what your process shift or approach to the game, maybe that you're really trying to level up going from set 15 to set 16. What's your focus area on like, hey, this is what I really want to get better at for set 16?
Yeah. 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 No. This is honestly this is a hard question to answer because I feel like this is like something that only such a small percentage of players in the world have mastered, maybe, or maybe no one has mastered yet. But
Mm-hmm.
I think my biggest problem across all the tournaments I did very well in this set, in set 15, um, pretty much coming down to maybe the last like one to two games, I was in a pretty good spot. And for example, in regionals, I was on a tear in the second day. And I was really making a big comeback from having a rough first day. I started at the very bottom in points, but I was able to work my way up. I had a lot of like good like first, seconds, thirds, pretty much top four every single game, luckily. And pretty much the second to last game, I just got I don't know. I think I got a little too excited or maybe just a little too psyched out, and it just caused me to make a really poor judgment decision at a critical point within the game. That's basically what it comes down to, and it ended up being like a huge swing because looking back on it, I really think that if I was a bit more composed, likely I think it likely could have done well enough at least to put myself into a good position for the final game. But
Yeah.
my game plan was basically just plainly it was too crazy. It was too crazy, and I ended up going like fast nine when I wasn't supposed to, and it just sent me eighth, and it basically put me in a situation where in the final game I had to I had to go first, and I also had to count on other people placing lower than me, and that's just not something you ever really want. You want the tournament to be in your hands. You never want to count on other people perform like placing a certain way because there's only so much that you can control in one game at the end of the day. Um, and again, this was a similar thing that actually happened to me in the two other tournaments that I did pretty well in.
Yeah.
So I definitely think like just that is like to me that's just something that I have to learn, and honestly I don't have the exact answer on yet. I have to learn how to keep myself very composed and in those critical moments and in those key games. Even if I've been having a really good day, I just have to remember like that could all just go in an instant if I make one mistake, one bad mistake, and yeah, I'm not invincible. I think that's like that's like something to remember, especially what like at regionals day two. I kind of felt like it. I was doing so well leading up to the second to last game, um, but I just need to keep reminding myself that I need to keep reminding myself that I need to. I just really think it comes down to just be composed and play like I normally do, I think. And not try not to be super on edge, I guess, and just like it's natural to feel anxious and nervous, but I have to do my best to figure that out. So maybe that's something I should look at outside of the game. Like maybe there's like breathing or like meditating I can do before like those key games, just to really put my mind right. Because honestly, that's not really something I've ever considered or like looked into.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some advice that I could get from other players, like talking about maybe what they do before really critical games and whatnot. But that's gonna be something that I'm figuring out this set, because like I said, it's just something I identified as a weakness, I guess you could say, or just something that kind of plagued me in most of my good tournaments this set. So yeah, honestly, I would say that's that.
Yeah, that resonates a lot with me from my tournament experiences where I've had similar stuff, and I know a lot of other people have similar stories.
Right.
I remember Setsuko having an interview where he was talking about a lot of his initial tournaments. He would just make egregious errors because the pressure would just get to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's helpful, but Marcel had a amateur golf career before he, and also he was #1 in Clash. So you know you were in Pokemon #1. But in golf, he did a lot of deep breathing exercises. So I know he does deep breathing. That might be something that could be looked into. I also know that Magnus Carlsen, the chess master, like he's won many titles, but he actually emphasized he would sleep. I think before one of his major world titles, he slept like something like 16 hours. And there's a lot of research that shows that if you're on little sleep, you're much more likely to get emotionally triggered. So I don't know how much sleep you're getting, but that could be something you look into as well.
Yeah. Like, no, funny you mentioned that. Like, I actually like my routine kind of is like the night before a tournament, I take melatonin. Like, I don't normally take melatonin, but I just do it because otherwise I sometimes I have trouble sleeping, and it just takes me like a while to fall asleep, and I think that just like kind of messes with your it feels like it messes with your mind a little bit, and then I'll wake up feeling tired. So definitely like taking like melatonin like on the nights of tournaments is something I do, like just to really get good sleep. But even sometimes with that, sometimes taking that sometimes I just don't get the best sleep I've noticed before tournaments. So yeah, like honestly, the things you mentioned, like breathing as well, and just referencing a lot of great like Magnus Carlsen and great players and high level champions across other sports or games. I definitely think like that's something I can look at more. It's just like kind of lifestyle as well. Not to say that I don't think I live like an unhealthy, or I don't think I neglect my health really. But I definitely think there might be like specific things that I can like look to do and research into doing. Like I said, I was thinking about I was already thinking about like the like breathing and meditating type thing. It's not something I'm super informed on yet, but certainly those types of things are going to be what I'm looking into, because like you said, there really are just a lot of success stories. There really are, and it's kind of hard to refute that these things do work and they do give you an edge and an advantage. So and honestly, that's really what it comes down to, I feel like, at the highest level, like, because all of the players are really, really good, and you're really just looking both in and out of game. You're looking for any tiny edge that you can get, and all those little edges that you can find will compile up and thus give you an advantage, right? So that's kind of like the I feel like that's kind of the mindset of me, at least, and I'm sure of a lot of the other high level players, is they're really looking for any possible edge. So yeah, just certainly to conclude, like out of game things are definitely something that I'm going to be like looking at more in this upcoming set.
For sure. On the subject of lifestyle, what does your typical day look like? And maybe I can ask that question in two categories. One is a typical kind of non-tournament prep day. And then what does a typical tournament, or sorry, maybe there's three categories. One is like a typical non-tournament. So there's non-tournament prep, like maybe you're just regularly playing. So like right now, versus tournament prep, versus tournament day. Like,
Mhm.
how does your routine schedule? What's the typical day of a Jungle Book life look like,
Sure,
from
sure.
kind of morning to when you go to bed for
Yeah,
those
no.
three categories?
Yeah, no, that I think that would be great to cover. So I would say like yeah, let's start with like just like a normal day. So I would say normal days are usually ones where I'm like playing ladder. For example, last set ladder was a big deal, especially for tier 2 players. It's a very big deal because that's how you qualify for regionals, or you qualify for you auto qualify to the Tacticians Cup, getting to skip the Tacticians trials. Um Getting a buy basically. And I would say that my latter days, I don't really have a like specific set time of the day that I play. I don't restrict for example, I don't restrict myself to only playing between these hours. So I'd say like I'm definitely a bit more I guess liberal, you could say, in the sense that I'm a bit flexible, and I just kind of, um, for example, if I'm struggling on a patch, maybe I'll like watch a streamer for an hour or two, or I'll watch some bots for an hour or two at some point in the day. But um, I'd say usually just throughout the day, I'm consuming TFT content, or playing the game like for a very large percentage of my day, from when I wake up to go to bed. I'll take breaks, of course, to exercise, or to take my dog on a walk, or um, to make food, of course, like to meal prep and stuff like that. Um, and so, yeah, I would say throughout the day I'm playing slash watching. Usually in the evening is when I will, if I'm talking to other people, that's usually when it is in the evening, like evening to nighttime. And I'd say a pretty large percentage of the days, like sometimes one of us will be like screen sharing our game, or we'll be like reviewing a set of VODs from certain players. Um, and Yeah, I would say that's pretty much my routine, but it's very I spend a lot of time of my day on TFT, like specifically, and I for well, it seems like it's been working for now, and I haven't been feeling burnt out at all either, from doing this. All of it is coming from like my passion and just like my drive, but that helps me just spend all of my time on it, and really do everything I can on like a normal day to improve my craft, and just to improve at the game. Um, so on like the week or two leading up to a tournament is when I might like change a little bit. I think then I have a lot more of a set routine, like especially like let's say like for like leading up to regionals, leading up to Tacticians Cup 2, I was doing a lot of scrimming. Like obviously that will be different than ladder, where it's just more obviously more competitive and just like better practice in general. And as a result, it does require more from myself, and more from the players who are scrimming, because you obviously need to be like playing your absolute best. Sometimes when I'm playing ladder, I'll have like my stream on, and like I'll be like reading chat, or sometimes I'll do things for fun. I'll admit it, like just like when I'm playing ladder. Um,
Yeah.
and That doesn't really happen as much in scrims, of course. Um, my routine then is like usually I'll wake up in the morning. Um, Maybe like as I'm eating or walking my dog, I'll just like watch or like listen to some stream or whatever, or some VODs. And then usually in like the morning to afternoon is when I'll like do like scrims, and these scrims are going to be with obviously other high level players. Like there's usually like a Discord server with like this set there was a Discord server with like all the TPC players across the world, and like you would say like looking for scrim. And um leading up to regionals, they invited us, like the tier 2 regional qualifiers, like into that server just so we could prep as well. um and Yeah, so I would say in the morning, afternoon slash like early evening is like when I'll be like trying to like really play a lot, like just like play multiple games. In between games, I might do like a short review of like critical moments, just to, like see, like maybe I'll look at like 4-2 augment. Like I feel like my 4-2 augment was like pretty low value. Is there something that I missed that maybe I could have taken was better? But then like in the evening to nighttime is when like I'll usually try to I'll usually try to like reach out to my friends, or they'll reach out to me, and we will like in-depth VOD review each other's games, like whether it's like 4 to 6 games. We will like look at most of the critical decision points, and this is like where a lot of the improvement happens, I would say. Obviously getting reps in at like when you're at a high level is obviously very good, but the true improvement happens when you get other sets of eyes on your decisions, because sometimes a seemingly obvious decision to me um, is actually just like a silly mistake. You know, it's actually incredible. Like when you get a new when someone else is looking at it from a different lens and from their own perspective, it's so easy. Sometimes it's so easy for them to see mistakes that you make, and I think that is like truly where a lot of the improvement comes. So I think that those like nighttime, evening, like VOD review sessions, I really value a lot, and I try to do anything I can to make time for that in the evening and night uh, when I know everyone's available and whatnot. Um, and I think that that is kind of just like the process that I do. You know, I think that's scrim in the morning, night review. Sorry, scrim in the morning, afternoon, review at night is usually the way I like to go about it. And then maybe after we're done reviewing all of our games, might chat for a bit, and then once everybody is kind of done, I usually try to get to bed by a certain time. Sometimes I'm sleeping pretty late. I don't like to admit, but like when I'm like getting ready for bed, or I'm eating dinner, or I'm like laying down in bed, I try to like just like watch VODs of like the people scrimming in the day prior. Like I would watch like Weijin, or like I watched Kiyun a bit too, because he had a really strong like set as well. I try to watch their like Twitch VODs, or really anybody. I don't really care who it is, but just people who were streaming the scrims, or whatever. I really try to just watch and try to learn anything I can, because, like I said, I am a high level player, but there's this is such a high level game. It's such a hard game, and there's so much to this game that I know that I will never have any patch or any comp mastered, and there will always be things to learn by watching and reviewing. So
Yeah.
um, that's like what. Sorry, that's like the second, and then I guess like a tournament day is like more simple. But like I said, I'll take melatonin the night before, just really do everything I can to make
Mhm.
sure I get really good sleep. Um, I'll usually wake up pretty early on these days, because I usually try to get to bed early. Just make sure that I am feeling really well rested, and just I don't feel tired in the slightest. Um, and then, yeah, in the morning, I will usually make sure I get a walk with my dog in, and just kind of just get outside a little bit. I think that goes a long way. Make sure I get a good meal in the morning, and then I will usually I'll be watching, because the EMEA cups and tournaments like happen earlier. So I'll usually try to like just like observe and watch if there's anything that I'm noticing is like succeeding a lot, any comp. Maybe there's like somebody playing like a really niche comp, and I just want to like look at that and just kind of observe what they're doing. Um and then prior to like maybe like the last thing is like 10 to 20 minutes before a tournament, I usually like drink like coffee, which I never drink coffee normally, and it's just become part of my like maybe it's just like a tradition point, or like a yeah, maybe it doesn't actually do anything, but I do like feel like more I, it's not like an absurd amount of coffee. It's usually just like one cup of like espresso, but um I I do that, and it's become part of my routine, and I honestly feel kind of off if I don't do that. So that's just been something that works for me as well. It just makes me feel like more honed in on the first few games, which I think it's very important to get a strong start.
Yeah. Do you do like a warm up game or anything before the tournament starts, or?
Yeah. Honestly, I do. I usually do. Whether it's sometimes I'll just like play a ladder game if I am unable to find a scrim. But yeah, usually towards the end of the sets, you're able to find like a scrim game, like directly prior to the tournament. So I usually do try to get at least one like warm up game in right before the tournament. I don't think you should play like a lot personally. Like I don't think you should play like 4 or 5 games before personally. I know there are streamers that do that where like they'll just like stream for a couple hours prior to the tournament. But for me personally, I just think that the tournaments are very mentally taxing, and I don't want to deplete my mental my mental like brain power, I guess you could say, like too much
Yeah.
before playing the tournament. I want to be at my peak. So I think a 1 game warm up or 1 or 2 game warm up is like a perfect kind of balance of that.
And then how about the evening of, assuming you make it to the next day, like
Mhm.
what do you do at night after the
Right.
tournament's over?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So after the tournament, yeah, it's pretty much right back to review. Like I review with the same group of same group of people that I normally do, and I will yeah we'll basically just review, especially like our games where we like really struggled in. Like maybe if we had like a really high roll first place, that game will innately be a shorter amount of time spent like reviewing. Maybe we'll just like look at like augment selection and some like late game or like early game strongest board, like just things like that. But in the games where we really struggled, like if like let's say we had a game where we went like 6th place or 7th place, or if we went like 3rd or 4th when we felt like we should have gone first, right? Like those are the games that we really like emphasize. And we will basically try to just like review our games and make sure that the decisions that we were making are sound and try to pinpoint where certain mistakes might have been. So yeah, basically all that is to say, yeah, on the nights of tournaments, I do review my games from the day prior. So that way, if I have any flaws, I'm able to work that out leading into the next day. And
Mm.
yeah, I think that is a good way to go about it, because when you make it to the next day in a tournament, you ought to assume, especially if you're not at the top of the points, like you ought to assume other players are going to improve more in their like in the next day, and they're going to do really like obviously they were doing something right probably if they made the next day.
Yep.
So the level of competition is of course going to get more difficult, which means that if you are not improving, or if you are not at least yeah no improving is a good word, if you're not improving in that one day at all, and you're not identifying your mistakes from the prior day, you're going to probably be on the weaker end leading up to the next day. So um, again, it's all about, like I said, it goes back to all about getting any edge that you can get at that level. And I do think that putting in the time to review the day prior is very valuable. And then so after all that review is done, I'll obviously try to get to bed by maybe like, a lot of times it might be around like 1 a.m., 12 a.m., 2 p.m. around there, or 2 a.m. Sorry, around there, and I will take my melatonin again, get to bed, and do the same thing the next day. So that's usually like what it will look like.
Okay. Switching gears for a sec,
Mm-hmm.
set 16. Curious what your initial impressions are and what your favorite set 16 unit that kind of jumps out to you so
Oh
far.
man. Okay. Yeah. No. Wow. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to pick a favorite, but let me answer the first. Let me answer the first part of the question.
Yeah.
I do really think Set 16 has a lot of potential, and I think this is just a sentiment that I think has generally been, I've been hearing a lot from a majority of people. Is they really like it. It feels super fresh. They kind of like, a lot of people like how the set mechanic isn't like super game warping, I guess you could say, or like super intrusive on the like players like base TFT experience, which I think is generally a good thing, especially amongst like a competitive level. You don't really want a mechanic that like kind of like breaks the game. Um, so I definitely have high hopes, and I think that I really like their approach to the set as well. Like just I've heard more dogs say they're really looking to make sure that 4 and 5 cost comps are like the best comps in the game, and while also kind of shifting power away from like verticals, like the 6, 7, 8 pieces of the traits, and kind of incentivizing more flexibility and just like more variations of end game boards. I really think this is super promising, and like especially me personally, like I always preferred a little bit more level 8, level 9 like tempo comps to reroll. Just that's just been my preference. I found it a little more fun and exciting, I guess you could say. So I'm definitely super happy about that. So yeah, I really have high hopes for the set, and I'm glad that I'm thankful that this is the set that I get to play in the TBC, because um, this set just really feels like I could play. I could have a really great time playing it, which again goes a long way. It goes a long way to being able to spend a lot of time on it, is when you are enjoying it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then so for my favorite unit, I think it's a tie between two for me right now. I really like Yunara personally. She's like the Ionia like Ginsu user. I really think she's just cool. Like the animations are cool to watch. Like it's kind of like the classic, like kind of last set it was like Crystal Gambit Ash, just like a
Yeah.
really cool unit with pretty animations that is just fun to watch. Um, so I like Yunara a lot, and then also I really like Singed, which I think is like kind of a slept on unit right now. Like playing him with like 5 or 7 Zon, I think that comp is actually really powerful. I think it's pretty sleeper strong right now, and I think Singed is such a cool unit. Like he just runs around the board. You put like a red buff or Morello on him, and he's just pretty annoying. But
Yeah.
I do like playing him a lot. I think he's pretty strong.
Cool. So I usually put a unit on my thumbnail. Which one do you want me to put on the thumbnail for this
Oh
video?
man, let's do Yunara. I like Yunara a lot. I like playing her in League as well. So
All right.
I'm a big fan of Yunara. Yeah.
Cool. So, last topic I want to cover is
Mhm.
coaching. So you do coaching. You're one of. I was actually going through all the tier one players, and there's not that many players that do coaching. So for all the viewers out there, and everyone who's watched my channel knows that I'm a huge fan of coaching. So can you share a little bit more about your coaching style, how you approach coaching? Like I know some coaches maybe are more focused on meta. Some coaches are more focused on like how do you build strongest board.
Mhm.
Lots of different styles to coaching out there. I'm curious, how would you describe your coaching style, and what kinds of students, coachees, do you feel like would be a good fit for you if they're interested in reaching out to you?
Absolutely. Yes. So I do a lot of coaching, and thank you for shouting that out. And currently I'm actually involved in like Project Mentor, which is a program ran by a content creator named Kai, and he basically pairs like mentors who are like high elo players, coaches to players who are seeking out coaching, and I am participating in that. But I also do coaching on the side, and I'm willing to coach anybody. And Just a little bit about me, like my style and just my experience. I've been coaching since 2022. So in competitive games, I used to coach in the old game Pokemon Unite, and now I coach in TFT. So I certainly have been working over the years. I've worked with players of different levels, whether it's lower on the lower elo end or the middle or the very high level. And I think that over that time, I've improved at a few things. Like number one, I think I improved just like my social and like my speaking skills a bit, like just having talked to so many people and and getting to know them, because I really do like I do think it's good to like try to like build a bond with your student, and just like that way you can like really share their goals and really be motivated to uh to work together, and to help the student improve, of course. So I definitely think like my experience throughout the years, having worked with so many different people who have different strengths and weaknesses, I think that's just made me like it's made me confident in just like my all around coaching skills, and I hope that that gives you guys some faith and confidence in me as well. Um, for my style, typically I will be doing either a meta review where we'll do like an in-depth discussion on, like, it might be like an hour. Usually I do like an hour, but sometimes we'll go a little bit over if I'm talking a lot. Like I don't really mind, but um, and we'll just talk about the meta on a certain patch. This is something that students have requested from me. Is like because I do really believe that before you even play, if you don't know, before you even play a game on a new patch, if you don't know your game plan and what comps are strong, also what comps you should be playing from what openers, I really think that you're going to struggle, like honestly, and especially when you're playing at the higher levels, you're going to struggle with these things. Like if you don't know what the meta is. So students have requested that where I'll pretty much just try to list every comp and put them into like a rough tier, a rough caliber of what I perceive them to be in any given patch. And I'll talk about that in depth. Like for example, in the previous patch, we might like get our tier list done, and then, or in the previous set, sorry, we might establish our tier list, and then my student might ask me, hey, can we go deeper into Battle Academia Katarina? And we might talk about the artifacts, we might talk about the positioning, because like a lot of comps have that type of aspect that's important. Augment priority, just like all these like more in-depth things. So that's kind of one, I guess you could say, archetype of a coaching session that I might provide. And then I would say the other most common is just VOD review, which is obviously at its core probably the best way to improve at the game, is when I can see your gameplay. And my style is I'm very nitpicky. I really like to pinpoint, especially if you're a high level player. I think the higher and higher you get, you have to be super nitpicky and really point out every single mistake. Because as I was saying earlier, when you get better, the way you improve is by improving on the little things. As opposed to when you're gold, you might just be able to climb if you're making econ quickly, if you're picking econ augment early. Like you might be able to do very simple things to climb in the lower elos, but when you get higher and higher, you have to do everything you can to get an edge. So I really like to emphasize that, and I am super nitpicky about pretty much any mistake that I might see and throughout the game, whether it's missing strongest board, whether it's a flaw in line selection, it could be an augment issue, of course. But I think that is generally my style, and I think that because just the average, probably in TFT, the average rank of like the students that have reached out to me for coaching is usually in like the master, diamond master GM level. And I do think like they like usually these players have a decent understanding of the game. They know how making econ works. They know kind of what units they should be buying for what comp, what items are good for AP versus AD. But so that's why like I find myself in a lot of sessions like really being nitpicky as possible, and that way that way it just helps them see the things that they might not be able to see in their own gameplay. And also like after identifying those things, it's very important because it would be easier for me to just like tell them what they're doing wrong. But the next step is that's very important is trying to figure out like what practice you can employ to stop making this mistake or see this mistake in the future. So a lot of time this might like just like involve like understanding the game very deeply, like understanding how like certain stats work with each other, like HP, armor, MR, like on a unit, like really understanding the mechanics of the game on a deep level. I like very often I'll find myself explaining that to master level players, and they might not have thought about the game that way before. And I do think that I do think that, going back to my point about helping people figure out what they need to change and what practices they need to do in order to get better is a key part of my coaching. Yes. I don't want to just tell you what you did wrong and then you're kind of lost on what is that. Okay, so that does make sense. Like I'm glad he told me what I did wrong, but what exactly can I do? And I do think that pinpointing those things is really crucial. And
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, I'm lucky to have coached a lot of very good players who have seen a lot of success in like their rank and whatnot. So I do think it works, like to my own credit. But yeah, I do think that is probably the best description that encapsulates my unique coaching style.
Okay. I mean, that sounds awesome to me. So if someone out there is watching this video and wants to be able to get coached by you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, so usually I usually give them my Discord, which can we put it in the description? I could also
I'll add it to the description.
And
Maybe you
it's
can even
just
say it out loud so people can know, and then I'll add it to the description.
awesome. Yeah, so it's JB and then it's followed by 51. So JB11111. Kind of a weird name
Okay.
about that, but
JB
it's just an
and
abbreviation
5
of my name.
Okay.
The one other place that sometimes people message me is on Twitter, which will probably also be in the description, but that's at Junglebook1_. That's my Twitter. So feel free to message me on either of those platforms, and that is usually how I find new students to coach. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this conversation was super informative, insightful for me. I hope all of you that are watching out there found it as useful as well. Do you have any final shout outs before we wrap this up?
I think that's pretty much it. The last thing I would like to shout out is like my Twitch. I am a streamer. Like I am a streamer, and I'm trying to like grow in that always. And I am streaming pretty much every day of the Set 16 PB, and I will be streaming Set 16 live on Ladder as well. So if anyone would like to follow and come over and ask questions or play PvE, feel free. That is also going to be in the description, but that will be at Junglebook1_ as well on Twitch. But yeah, other than that, thank you for having me, Eric.
Yeah, and I also want to second that. I've sat in on some of your streams. I don't watch your stream as much as I probably would like to, but in the times that I've watched your stream and asked you questions, you've always been super responsive. So I would definitely second that for all of you that are listening. Go to Junglebook's stream and ask him questions because he's super responsive and friendly about that.
Thank you.
So with that said, thanks again, Junglebook. And for all of you that actually watched the whole length of this interview, thanks for sticking around. I hope you found it helpful. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Bye.